There's a Yellowstone hotspot, and it's forcing the magma to rise from below the supervolcano. Callum Hoare Express UK reports on this. The volcano sits on a hotspot deep in Earth's crust, causing the magma to rise to the surface from below Yellowstone National Park. It was revealed recently by a geologist during a documentary. Now, if you look at the video before this one, it was a shocking, astonishing discovery that the magma chamber scans that were recently made, it was revealed just yesterday, just a few hours ago, published March 5th. The scans reveal that the magma chamber under Yellowstone has a network of magma tubes. And Yellowstone goes all the way down to Mexico. And that explains why we've had recent activity north and south of Yellowstone along the, what we would call fault lines, along mountainous ranges there, and in swarms as well. We even had a Colorado earthquake of initially magnitude 5.6, downgraded to 4.5. Well, Ben Fiorulo, the geologist who examines Yellowstone and other areas there, believes it should have been a 4.7 or 4.8. Anyway, that was so big in Colorado, in a volcanic field, that it probably shook up Yellowstone as well. And we did have an earthquake at the same time of the Colorado quake of 4.5 that was downgraded of a 3.3 in Yellowstone, 2 or 3 minutes apart. And he asked, is it a coincidence? Well, obviously it's not a coincidence, because they are, from what the scans of the magma chamber show and what the USGS just reported to us yesterday, the Yellowstone magma chambers reach all the way down to Mexico and all the way up to Canada, which is huge. I mean, if they reach that, I mean, does that take in California's supervolcano, the Long Valley caldera? What a revelation. So, okay, we have this magma chamber, we see that, it's a hot spot, and Yellowstone volcano erupted, we know, 3 times in history, 2.1 million years ago, 1.2 million years ago, and 640,000 years ago, and a smaller eruption 70,000 years ago, where a lot of other supervolcanoes and volcanoes erupted around 70,000 years ago. Even the recent one that we reported on in Scotland, I think it was like 74,000 years ago. Other ones around California, volcanoes. Well, of course, those, I guess it's been revealed now that they may be part of the shakeup of Yellowstone, which had the smaller eruption about 70,000 years ago. And a lot of people believe that Yellowstone could be overdue, but that depends on a lot of factors. I mean, we're not fear-mongering, but, you know, Yellowstone is degassing, it's deforming. Geologists say that that's just part of a natural cycle of Yellowstone, but it's frightful that they're coming out with the information, with evidence that Yellowstone is 2.5 times bigger than they thought it was. Now, Professor Bill McGuire from Benfield Hazard Research Centre at University College of London reveals how Yellowstone is different to other volcanoes around the world. First of all, it's a supervolcano, and supervolcanoes don't act like regular volcanoes. He said back in 2011, many of the world's volcanoes are located around the rigid tectonic plates that make up other parts of the planet. But below Yellowstone is a little bit different. He says Yellowstone is sitting above what we refer to as a hot spot, like we had in Hawaii is a hot spot. Now, he says what you have is hot materials from Earth's mantle coming up, hitting the Earth's crust and melting it. The documentary went on to explain how Dr. McGuire's theory and revealing how this hot spot continuously poses a threat. Okay? So it's a hot spot and it continually poses a threat. He explained in detail, the hot spot is a fixed point deep in the Earth's interior that the American plate slowly moves. It melts over the overlying crust, which creates a huge chamber of molten rock. So it melts the crust, and that crust becomes molten rock. This is eventually forced up to create a supervolcano. And from the past, scientists have shown that should an earthquake take place, it could take less than 2 weeks before a catastrophic reaction is triggered here. The last eruption, we said, of Yellowstone produced 2,500 times more volcanic material than the Mount St. Helens volcano that erupted in 1980. And they created an eruptive column so colossal it covered around 60% of the U.S. in a very thick layer of ash. And you can see it, a lot of mounds and mountains are what you would call ashy mountains. I mean, do you take your car key and you scrape the mountainside if it's cut because they've laid a road or something, and you see, oh wow, this is really, really soft. It's like ash or dirt, not even soil, it's finer than that. And you're saying, what caused all this? Well, that was volcanic ash. And you not only have that there, you have it all over the world. You have area, even in Greece we have mountains like that. You see, what is that? Now, should the same thing happen again, a mixture of ash, lava blebs, and superheated gas exceeding temperatures of 1,000 degrees Celsius could move at speeds of a whopping 300 miles an hour, pyroclastic flows, that is, and if these P flows hit anyone, they would possibly die within seconds, as the air could heat up to around 300 degrees Celsius. In other words, you're cooked. That's a cooking oven, more than moderate heat in a cooking oven. So the takeaway on this is that it is a hot spot. It is 2.5, from the previous video, 2.5 times bigger than what originally it was thought. It reaches all the way down to Mexico. And it melts heating the Earth's crust, forming magma and forcing it to rise. And all this material becomes material heated up, melted, to be used for the eventual potential material that will be spit up during any type of an eruption. So this is amazing, and a lot of these areas are parks. They're national parks. People, thank goodness, don't live too close to them. But also, you don't really know what's there unless you go into the trouble of visiting these areas to see exactly what's going on. And basically, the only people that do know what is going on are the geologists, if they have enough monitoring stations or enough personnel to see what's going on there. And I don't know, if they knew that there was something coming, would they have the authority to, how would they relocate people? There is an agreement, first of all, by the United States to relocate people to, that is Yellowstone evacuees, they call them, to southern countries, to the southern hemisphere, because of the fact that it would be so devastating in the northern hemisphere. But after all, this revelation would be a worldwide catastrophe, what they would call a world extinction, Earth extinction event. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. and we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.